Good morning, children. So, in the previous class, in a nutshell, we have touched force and energy. But today we'll go into the details of the lesson. Let's see how much we can learn together. So to begin with, before I start off with the video, assisting more elaborately about the explanation, let me tell you what is a force. So generally, we have seen that whenever we come across the word force, we have seen that it is defined as a pull or a push. But if we go beyond that, what can we understand? It is said that force is an external agent that brings about changes in a body which is at rest or in motion. That means if something is moving, that is because of force. If something is at rest, that is also because of force. So we have different effects of force. Going to the effects of force, let us first view what we have in store for better understanding.
Force and its effects. Objective: to learn what a force is and the effects of force. Force is a pushing or pulling action on objects. An object will only move when we either push it or pull it. Let's learn about the effects of force. Let's consider a stationary ball. If we push the ball a little, it will roll forward slowly. If we push the ball with greater force, it will roll much further. So, force makes a stationary object move from one place to another. When we place a hand in front of a rolling ball, we are applying force in the opposite direction of the moving ball. So, the ball will stop. We can say that force will stop an object already in motion. When we place a hand at an angle in the path of the rolling ball, the ball will not stop but will change its direction. We can say that force will change the direction of a moving object. Summary: force is a pushing or pulling action on objects.
Okay, before going to the summary, we have seen what are the consequences that occurs because of the force. That means effect. What can actually force lead to? First, it can start a body to move. Secondly, if a body which is in constant movement can be brought to rest only by the application of force. Without force, we cannot imagine, or it is not possible to make a moving body come to rest. Next, we can change the shape of an object. For example, what happens when your mother, she makes chapatis at home? What does she do? What actually she does? Can anyone tell me? What does she do? She makes the dough and then she takes out the pieces and she rolls it over the rolling spin, right? So once it is done, what happens? From a small piece of dough, you see this particular dough changes into a beautiful round shaped roti. This is possible because your mother has applied force. So force can also change the shape of a moving object. Another effect of force is that it can reduce or it can bring about changes in the speed of an object. Yes, if I want to lower the speed, I need to apply force. If I want to increase the speed, again I need to apply force. So children, these are the different effects of force which is possible only by application. So let's just see what they have in store for us in the summary.
Force will move a stationary object. Force will stop an object already in motion. Force will change the direction of a moving object.
Okay, so children, these were the effects of force. Now let's get into the different types of force which is present in our day-to-day life. So to begin with, the most important, that you are sitting here. Yes, that I am standing and explaining the lesson. We are in a stable condition because of the most important force, that is the gravitational force. It is called the force of the nature. The Mother Earth has the power to hold everything and pull it towards the center. But with Mother Earth, every other object in this universe, including us, those of which has mass, has the power of attracting other object towards itself. That is why what we see is that everything is in position because of the gravitational force. Gravitational force is a force that holds things in its position perfectly. Otherwise, what it would have happened? Everything would be flying around. Life would have been very difficult. That's what we experience when the astronauts, they go to the moon. Yes, what happened there is, you see in the moon, when the astronauts, they visit, they keep on flying because the gravitational force in moon is 1/6 of that of the earth. That means the total gravitational force on earth, if I divide it into 6 equal parts, one part of the earth's gravitational force is present on the moon. So basically children, the force, gravitational force, is very, very important. Another most interesting fact I would like to share is that if we ask you what is your weight, so you would say that I'm 28 kg ma'am, I'm 30 kg ma'am. How do you know about it? Then you would say, ma'am, I have weighed it in a weighing machine. But did you ever thought of how this weighing machine came into practice, how it was designed, based on which concept? Did you ever think so? No, because we don't go into the detailing unless and until we are curious about it, right? So our body weight has a very direct link with the gravitational force. That you are 28 kg, that you are 30 kg, is understood if you understand gravitational force, because when we say gravitational force, it means the force that is holding me. So the amount of force needed to hold me becomes my weight. Got it? So very easily my body weight was calculated and then it was put into a form of a calculation, and the weight machine was designed. Did you understand, children? Is that clear with the gravitational force?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let me explain you frictional force, then I'll go to the... Or you want me to show you the presentation earlier? You want to see this before, or you want the explanation
I
prior?
want to see the presentation.
Okay.
Types of forces: gravity and friction. A force is a push or pull. Using force, we can move objects, stop a moving object, and can change the direction of objects.
It is just recapitulating recapitulating of
Gravity is a force that attracts all objects towards the earth. When we throw a ball up, it will go up for some distance and then drop back to the ground. We can see gravity in action in falling leaves and dropping fruits.
Yes, so children, can you tell of a very common example that we often have studied over the years when we did gravitation? An example which is cited in almost all the classes when we come across or we talk about gravity. Do you remember? Do you remember? Absolutely, very good. Yes, an apple falling from the tree. Yes, it's a very common example and it has been taken into consideration in proving gravitational force. Why does it fall down? Why it doesn't fly away? It is because of the force of gravity.
Friction is a force that opposes the motion of an object. When we push a book on a table, it will slide for some distance and stop. In this case, the surface of the table and the surface of the book are in contact. The friction force between the surfaces will act in opposite directions, causing the book to slow down and stop. Smoother surfaces, such as an ice block, will have less friction. So we can slide the book further on an ice block. Smooth objects, such as glass, will slip because of less friction. Rough surfaces, such as carpet, have more friction. When there is no friction, moving objects will not slow down or stop.
Okay, now the frictional force. Now, we know that when any two surfaces rub against each other, a force is generated. This force is called my frictional force. And they say that frictional force play a very important role in making our movement possible and also balancing our body. So when we talk about movement and balancing our body, they have cited the example of a book, but I will prefer to explain you with human. Suppose there is a person, suppose if there is a person, there is a person who is walking. Now, this person is able to walk first because he is applying force in his body to make the movement. But have you ever thought if the force is only from one direction, the person should fall down? So there has to exist another force which will balance the force applied from one side. Is it okay? So this person, when he is walking, he is rubbing against the surface. A force is generated between the shoes and the surface of the floor, and this force will act in the opposite direction of the object. So this force will balance this force and make our movement possible. Is it clear? So what is the advantage of frictional force? What is the advantage of frictional force? Can anyone say? The advantage of frictional force is that we are being able to walk comfortably. Yes, without, otherwise we would have fallen down. Wherever there is less friction, what happens? If when you're walking, if suddenly there is a drop of water or there is some oil which has spilled on the floor, you immediately step, you don't get a second to think to save yourself from falling down. Because there the friction becomes minimum. Friction is more when the rubbing is more, when the surface is rough. So that is my frictional force. I will not go into much detail. You will be studying more about it in the higher classes. Now the next force that we come into account is my muscular force. So before I play the animation, little bit let me tell you, the name itself, muscular force, says definitely it has to relate with the muscles of our body. So whenever the muscles of our body moves, there is, because we know children that our bones are incapable of moving by themselves. Bones never move. Muscles attached to the bones make movement. So when such movements are made, a force is generated which helps to create the movement, and that is called my muscular force. So any movement caused by your arms, your legs or any part of your body will be the muscular force. So let's see if we can get some clarity about it.
You know that a force applied on an object can move the object, stop its movement, or change its speed, direction of motion, or shape. Let's learn about the different types of forces. Which type of force do you think the man has applied on the iron rod to change its shape?
The person is really
Which type
muscular.
of force moves and speeds up our cart? Yes, you're right. It's muscular force. Push force applied by the man bends the iron rod, and pull force applied by the bullocks moves and speeds up the cart.
Okay, so this is the muscular force. I hope you had some idea regarding it. Next comes is our elastic force. Again, if you just concentrate on the word elastic, you will get the meaning. Definitely it has to do something with stretching. So the best example would be rubber band. If you take a rubber band, stretch it, what do you see? The stretching is possible because of a force which is present in the rubber band, and that force is my elastic force. Or if you see a compressed toy, many a times children, they jokingly want to scare their parents or their friends. They bring toys stuffed in a box. So the moment you open the box, something pops out and we get scared when we look at it. This particular toy, if you observe carefully, has a stretching ability. It has a spring which can expand and you can again compress it down. This flexibility is possible because of the force which is called the elastic force. That means force that can be stretched and again regained back to the original position. I hope I have made myself clear. Is there any question that is popping up in your mind, children? You want to ask something? Is there anything that you want to ask, or should I proceed? Should I proceed to the next one? Okay, now the next force, I'll show you. You will be seeing it. Let me just go two at a time. The next force after that would be your electrostatic force, which can be explained, or it can be done by sitting over here. What we do, generally we have done it, maybe you all have also done it, is that you take some bits of paper and you take a comb and you rub the comb in your dry hair. Several times you try to rub it in your dry hair and then you bring the comb close to the small bits of paper. What do you observe? You observe that the bits of paper are getting attracted to the comb. immediately it should strike your mind that why is it so? Do I have some magnetic power in my hair? Because of which if I rub, I will create some kind of magnetic field around so that it gets attracted, but papers are not magnetic substances. So how is it possible that by rubbing a comb in my hair and bringing the comb so close to the bits of paper, there is a force of attraction? Yes, children, there do exist a force. When I am rubbing my hair with the comb, there is an electrostatic charge that develops in the comb. And the moment I bring the comb closer to the bits of paper, this charge creates a force because of which the bits of paper get attracted to the comb. So children, this is your electrostatic force. Okay, now let's see.
Why do you think the balloon is... Which force pushed the bead away from the slingshot? What forced the toy to bounce out of the box? The stretched rubber band of the slingshot and the compressed spring generate a force which causes motion in both cases.
Okay, so children, this was your elastic force. Now let's see what we have in store.
Have you ever tried which force pushed them? Have you ever played with what happens when you comb your hair with a plastic comb and then bring the comb near some pieces of paper? Did you see what just happened? Which type of force attracted the pieces of paper? It's electrostatic force. The plastic comb, which was rubbed against dry hair, acquired an electrostatic charge. The electrostatic force of the charged comb attracted the bits of paper.
Okay, so the next force that is in store is my magnetic force. So magnetic force, I hope all of you know what is a magnet. And generally we have an inclination towards magnet because we like to play with it and do some kind of activity. So certain substances which gets attracted to the magnet because of the force which is present in the magnet. So what does it do? It usually has the power to attract some metallic substances. Most commonly you will see iron. Iron is the most common substance that gets attracted by the magnet. So that is my magnetic force.
Have you ever played with magnets? Which type of force makes a magnet attract iron objects? Yes, it's magnetic force.
Okay, now in addition to this magnetic force, children, there is another force which is called the buoyant force. Now, what is this force? This is a force which is generated in fluids. Yes, a very common example, when you go to the washroom for taking your bath, generally when we were kids, I remembered that we tried to take a mug and we tried to immerse it totally by keeping the mug upside down inside the water. And we have observed several times trying to find out the reason behind why the mug doesn't, or why the water doesn't allow the mug to go down. The concept was not there in the mind, the clarity was not there, and then we tried heart and soul by pressing it so that, because whenever an object is in water, it can be in two conditions. Either it is sinking or it is floating. So it was neither sinking properly nor floating properly. Then later on asking our teacher, we could understand that yes, it is because of the upward thrust of the liquid, not allowing the mug to go down. So children, the force exerted by liquids or fluids on any object is my buoyant force. So before I go into the quiz asking you some questions, finding out how much you could absorb or how much I was able to explain you, because ultimately after a period of 30 minutes, if you leave the classroom without understanding, then I think it would be merely a wastage of my energy and even your energy. So definitely we should understand, we should try to take something and make it productive. Okay, so just recapitulating once more what we started in and where we have ended. We started with what is force, what are the effects of force, what are the different types of forces. There are more add-ons on that, but I think for class 5 this is more than enough. What is important is how much you have understood and how much you can take it along with you. So a little small test that I would like to check on and find out. First one, which of the following is an example of application of force? A person rowing a boat, a stationary wind turbine, a car standing in a parking lot, a stationary cycle. Can you tell me, children? Which one would be the correct answer? Which particular example reflects the application of force? Can anyone tell me? Is it the first one? A, or a B, or C, or D? A. Option A. Option A. Okay. Let us see whether we are correct or not. Perfect. We are correct. So I can say that little bit I could reach out to you all so that you could take something and you have understood. Let's go to the next and find out. Which of the following forces is exerted by the earth? Interesting. Let me see. Which one? Muscular, electrostatic, gravitational and frictional. Children, please concentrate on the keyword. If you concentrate on the keyword, you will get the answer. Otherwise, no. What is the keyword? What would be the answer? Definitely there is a fix between gravitational and frictional. What would be the answer? Would I choose gravitational?
Yes.
Sure?
Yeah.
No, but I would love to go for frictional. Let's see. So it is the frictional force, because see, it is a force exerted by the earth. It is not a force that is pulled towards the earth. You have to focus on the key points, keywords. Now let's go to the next. I hope I'm not making the class too boring, children.
No.
Just give me just few more minutes and I will be wrapping up the class. It is the next one. Which of the following action is not an example of an application of force? Which of the following actions is not an example of an application of force? Which one? Do you think? I think this. Let us try for this. Wrong. What would be the correct one? Which one? Where you are not actually applying force. Should I try for this? D. D. I would change it to D. Okay. So it is basically a stationary wind turbine where no wind is blowing. So I hope, children, you have understood, if not everything, at least something about the different types of forces. And in my preceding classes, in my coming classes, I will add some more and we will continue with the different energies. Combined forces and energy would definitely turn out to be a very interesting class.